Okay, ladies and gentlemen. We seem to be recording. Let's see. So, up until now, you have learned 3 ways to take an algebraic expression, a linear function, and put it on a graph. Yes? The first way you learned in the 9th grade, and it was the table of values, or T-chart, depending on who your teacher was. Put them on the graph, input, output, put the dots on the graph, connect the line. Right? Then, this year, we talked about X and Y intercepts. And how did they work? You had X comma 0, 0 comma Y. You subbed in and connected the dots. Everyone remembers this, I trust. Yes? Right? Now, once we did a little bit of work with the intercepts, we noticed a pattern. And that pattern was, when you had y by itself, and there was a number off by itself, you had the y-intercept. And that leads us to the third one, which was slope-intercept, which is y equals mx plus b, but it's also y equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 times x plus b. And once we did a bunch of work with that, and we were all very happy, yes? We were so happy, as a matter of fact, that that knowledge allowed us to solve this problem, yes? What was lacking in y equals mx plus b? Here, we didn't have a good y-intercept, right? But upon further investigation, we realized we did not need a y-intercept, did we? We could use any point as long as we could find the slope, yeah? So, that takes us to where we are now, version 4, which is point slope form. Now, point slope form, we just built it all by ourselves. It's y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. Now, there's a little bit of knowledge to be brought to here. This point here, the x1 and the y1, those are the known point from the title. The title is point slope form. Those spots right there are the known point that you have on the line. Okay? So think back to what Leighton said back here. Leighton said, well, Mr. Myers, we can use any of these points to sub into slope-intercept form and work it out, right? So any of those points will work here. Is everybody with me? So how many points on any given line can I put in for x1 and y1? There's an infinite amount, yes? x1 and y1 are variable. They can change. The slope never changes. Doesn't matter where we are on the line. To get to the next point, we go the same rise and run. Everybody cool? All right. So these guys are a known point from the title. This guy is our slope from the title. And these guys, the green ones, are the points we seek. Everybody cool? Everybody cool? Okay, so I'm going to show you how this works now because we've already talked about why it works. Let's show you how it works in practicality, okay? So, up until now, I've been able to say this line has a y-intercept of blah and a slope of blue, and you've all been able to do the work, right? So, how is my question going to change now? You're not going to get a y-intercept. You're just going to get a point. Everybody cool? So, somebody give me a number between 1 and 10. 7. Give me another number between 1 and 10.
2.
Great. 7 and 8. Now somebody give me a fraction. Any fraction.
2/3.
2/3.
6 9.
Too late.
6 ninths. So 2/3.
Everybody cool with that?
Yeah.
Okay, now. Anytime I see that number written, a set of numbers written like that, it's an x and a y, correct? Do I know x is 7? Yes. Do I know that y is 8? Yes. Do I know that the slope is 2/3? Yes. So in slope, to put it into point slope form, it is y minus a known y value. What is that? 8. Equals m, what's my m?
2/3.
2/3 times x minus a known x value. 7. Is everybody cool? All right. Now, let's prove that this works to ourselves. We already know that 7 and 8 are on this line, correct? Because it was given to us. Everybody agree? Let's pretend that I didn't ask for you I did not ask for you to give me those numbers. But I tell you, this is the equation. Where could you start? Well, look what happens. If I make x 7 and I make y 8, what is 8 minus 8? 0 equals 2/3. What is 7 minus 7?
7. I was 0.
What is 2/3 times 0? 0. Does 0 equal 0? Yes. So now all of you should be able to make the deduction that, hey, wait a minute. This point tells me that 7 and 8 must be on the graph. Because 7 minus 7 for the x value and 8 minus 8 for the y value will satisfy this equation. Does everybody understand? So, no, go ahead.
Wouldn't that be known already, though? If it's already in the equation.
Well, that's why it's automatically known. That's why this works. I told you that it was 7 and 8, right? So now, knowing what you know now, what if I gave you this equation? In blue here, what is the first point on the graph, the only point on the graph that you know right now? Think of everything we've talked about today and what you just learned. Tell me now, what is the point that I could start graphing from this blue line? 5 and negative 4? Let's check. 5, negative 4. Okay, so negative 4 is the y value. Y minus 4 equals 3/5. 5 plus 5. Because that's an x value, right? What's negative 4 minus 4? Negative 8 equals 3/5 times 10. That's negative 8 equals negative 6, yes? Does negative 8 equal negative 6?
It's not negative.
There you go. So what does it really need to be? Because 5 and negative 4 didn't work, but what did? Negative 5 and positive 4. That one worked. Because of what we just discussed from the very first thing that we talked about with x's and y's and y's and y's. And here, this number right here Not bad. I had to shovel a lot of snow, hurt my back. Haven't been able to move really for like a week, but I've been sitting on the couch minding my business comfortably. So my back was feeling good. So I can come to school, no problem. But of course, this chair is not my couch. And now my back hurts a lot.
How long did your power go up for?
I didn't lose power. Chilliwack's better. I keep telling you guys.
The roads were bad.
Chilliwack is better. We never lost power once.
My power was out for 4 days.
Yeah, I heard that. Somebody in my last class had 4 days of no power. But I mean, that's okay if you're outdoorsy, right? Like if I was out of power, it wouldn't be a big deal. I got like 5 camp stoves and propane and a barbecue and I'm a camper, so we have sleeping bags and it was cold enough that if your fridge died, you just put your food outside.
That's exactly what we did.
Wait, what school
Or
did
you
you
put the
choose?
snow from outside into your
Chilliwack Middle and Strathcona Elementary. All right. Yes. Were you in LA or San Diego? My friends were in LA and they said it was kind of foggy and cloudy. But some other friends were in San Diego and they said it was gorgeous. But on one day over the Christmas break, LA was 28 degrees. I know this because my wife keeps LA on her weather on her phone so she can feel better about herself, I think. My wife has something weird about weather. She's nuts about it. I don't get it. Love you, honey. So anyway, we're cool with this, right? Does everybody understand why it has to reverse? Because if you don't reverse it, you don't get that 0 equals 0. Okay? Everybody cool? So, now the question becomes, well, we'll do that in a minute. So just looking at this, we're not going to graph. What can you tell me about this line? Do you have a starting point? What is it? 1, -2, and do you have a slope?
Yeah, -2/3. Yes.
-2/3. The slope doesn't change.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, what about the next one? What's our starting point?
-3, 4.
-3, 4, and what's our slope?
-1, 4.
All right. What's weird about 3?
It's a different 4. There's no M. Wait, hold on. Yeah, there's no M. There's no slope.
There is a coefficient for m. It's just a number we don't write because coefficients multiply. So it's 1. Great. So our slope is 1. What's our starting point?
-2, -1.
-2, -1. I can't fool you guys. What about 4?
M is equal to 1/2. No, yes, it is.
And what's my starting point?
4 minus 4 is 0.
-4, 0. Excellent. Because there. Whoa! Because there's no value over here. Oh, 5.
Ooh, it's -1. M is equal to
M is -1. And where do I start?
-5 minus 3.
-5 and -3. And 6. Back to an easy one just to bring you full circle.
4/5 is M, and then +1 and +1.
Wait, so I just want to make... It makes sense, I just want to make sure there's no nuance to it. Obviously, it could be like 3 plus y and 5 plus x, right? It doesn't have to be in that order. Like, it doesn't matter whether it's flipped. It can be y or y1 or...
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
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 Okay.
See that louder?
As long as the y and the x are positive,
Yes.
right? Like you could not say
You have to flip the
you
sign.
could not say 3 minus y equaled 2/3 5 minus x. You could not graph that way because your y and your x's are not positive. Okay? All right, now, everybody recognize how it works, right? From where we started, y equals mx plus b, subbing in to x1, x2, x, x1, y, y1, to the universal one, to specifics. Everyone is good? Now, how does it help us graph? Well, it gives you a starting point in the slope, just like y-intercept, right? But instead of starting at 0, comma, y, we're starting at what point here? What's our starting point? -1. 2. So if I go to negative 1, 2, and then what?
And then go up and then go up 2 and then run 2. Like to the right 2.
1, 2, 3. And then, what else could I do? Down 2 and left 3. Or, what did, was it you or her that just talked?
Going up.
Okay, what did Sarah just say? I could have done it again from here, up 2 and over 3. Everybody with me? Now, this equation describes this line at which point? 1, 2, 3, or 4. It only describes it at 2, doesn't it? So what would you tell me is the equation from point 4?
Oh, it'd be y. Hold on. It'd be y. Hold on. Give me a second. Here you go. It'd be y plus no y minus. Okay, just give me a second. All right?
That's a lot of seconds.
Hold on.
Y negative y. Say equals 2/3.
Y minus 7.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6
6.
equals
That was
2/3
X plus.
plus.
No, X minus. No.
Yeah, x minus whatever numbers are.
Yes. X
Yeah.
minus.
Set up 5.
Got it.
What would this one be? Y minus 4. We already know this one. What would this one be? Y equals 2/3 plus 4. Is everybody cool with this?
Oh, yeah.
The computer doesn't like it. Oh, somebody tried to... Oh, you son of a...
What? Someone tried to what?
Never mind.
No, what is it?
Nothing.
Someone tried to hack you?
Yes, someone tried to hack me.
Oh, those
Yes.
silly Russians.
Look out. Yes, it's the Russians.
That's
It's the Russians.
All the North Koreans.
All right.
my new son is
Everybody cool?
my new
Okay.
son.
Yeah.
It's Donald Trump.
You know the
I know.
Yeah, okay. You understand.
And my works. Huh? And my works.
All right. So, is everybody cool?
Oh, yeah.
All three of these are exactly the same. Everybody understand?
Yes.
Now, prove it. This point right here is 5, 6, correct? Point 4 is 5, 6. Agreed? Okay. Over here, where would you put the 5? Five, 6. Where would you put the 5?
In the X.
In for the X. Where would you put the 6?
In for the
In for the Y. What's 6 minus 2?
4.
4. What's 5 plus 1?
6.
2/3 of 6.
4.
6 times 2 is 12. 4 equals 12 over 3. 4 equals 4. See how it works? What would happen if I put in this point, which was 2 and 4? Would it work?
Yeah.
What's 2 minus 2?
0.
Or sorry, what's 2 and 4? What's 4 minus 2?
2.
2. And what's 2 plus 1?
3.
3.
3 times 2 is 6 divided by 2 is 2.
Everybody cool?
Oh!
It always works. Is everybody good? All right. Now, therefore, what is the only way we can screw you up? By moving brackets and things around. How am I going to graph this guy? Okay, what's my starting point?
Minus 5 minus 1.
Minus 5 minus 1.
M is equal to minus 2.
So there's my first dot, minus 5 minus 1. Now how do I graph it? Rise over run. So it's a negative, down 2, then what? Left 1? Left 1? So you're telling me that's a negative slope? Down to right 1. So it's that. And each one of those points would give me a different version, but they would all be equal. Does everybody understand? That causes you guys a great deal of consternation, because how many different versions of this are there per line? How many different versions of this is there in a line? Just one, because it's only got one y-intercept. How many different versions of there is that in a line? Infinite, because you have an infinite amount of points, even though the slope is never going to change. Does everybody understand? All right. Now, let's see if we can do something with it. Number 9. 2 perpendicular lines cross at the y-axis. I have one of the lines right here. Can I graph that? Yep. What's the easiest way to graph that? I lie. That was a subjective statement, Byron. There's an easy way I find to graph, but it might not be the easy way you like to graph it. How would you personally like to graph that highlighted yellow equation? You don't have a choice. You have to graph it. You have to graph it. I would rather have had a bobcat to scoop out my driveway. I did not. It still had to be done. I got a shovel.
My mom and dad bought a tractor just so that we wouldn't have to shovel our driveway.
Good for them.
I bought like
Must
those.
be nice having money.
I bought like one of those, like, you know, the odd amount.
I don't want to shovel a driveway. Let's just buy a
The snow blower.
Yeah, that one. But we never used
I don't want
it
to clean the
because
bathroom. Let's buy a new house.
Okay. Again, I ask, how should we graph that? What are you going to do to graph it?
no, I was playing the hospital.
Run through the list.
Well, I personally would just move that y over there, and the y would be isolated.
I knew it. Redistribute. I said it.
And I would have 2x plus 8 equaled y. And isn't that easy to graph? Where would it be? At 8 and a slope of 2. So down 8, out 4, there's my slope of 2. That's line 1, yes? Any questions about line 1? So obviously there's some questions about line 1.
That makes sense. It does make sense.
I went down 8, negative 8, and I went left 4, negative 4. Negative 8 divided by negative 4 is positive 2, which needs to be my slope. Cool? Okay, great. Now, I have to draw a second line, yes? What do I know about that second line? I know 2 things about it. What 2 things do I know?
It's perpendicular to the first line.
Line 2 is perpendicular. And what else? It crosses on the y-axis. So what can you say about line 2's y-intercept? If the lines cross on the y-axis, And this line, how many times can this line cross the y-axis? Once.
Y-intercept is 0. Wait, sorry. That is completely wrong. I meant...
The y-intercept is 8.
Yeah. Don't worry about that.
I won't.
Yeah.
Everybody cool? Now, what does the perpendicular thing tell us? Lauren.
How did you get the first point on the first line?
On the black line 1,
Yeah.
I moved the y over so it was isolated, so I had it in slope-intercept form.
Okay, but
And then I knew that's the y-intercept, and I know that the slope is 2. So I went down 8 and left 4.
how did you get the first point on it though?
The y-intercept is 8. So I went on the y-axis up to 8.
I thought line was 0. What?
I'm confused.
For the y-intercept also.
We had 2x minus y plus 8 equaled 0. That's not a form that we like. So if I move that y over here, so I have 2x plus 8 equals y. Y is now by itself. So that's slope-intercept form.
0 y is equal to this.
If you want to do it that way, that's okay too. Yes.
If you put the 0 in for the x, 2 times 0 is 0, and then plus 8 is 8.
Right? The y-intercept is 0y, correct? So that would go there. What's 2 times 0? So 8 equals y. So my y-intercept is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then my slope was 2. So I went down 8, negative 8, negative 4. Negative 8 divided by negative 4 is positive 2. Cool? Because I needed to have a slope of 2. So I went down 8 and over 4. Now I could have gone down 2 and over 1. And there it is. Down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. I just used 8 and 4 because I like you guys to see that you don't have to just do it there. The slopes are the same. I could have gone down 64 and left 32. Right? Okay. Everybody good? So now, what does perpendicular slope mean? Opposite and negative. Opposite and negative, they mean the same thing. Opposite and starts with an R, Manalo, reciprocated. So my slope is 2 over 1. How do I reciprocate that? 1 over 2. How do I negative it? Negative 1 over 2. So I need an m of negative 1/2, but I still got to go through 8. So how do I draw it? Y equals, what's my slope? Negative 1/2 x plus 8. Agreed? Now, check this out. That point right there is what?
That's the y-intercept.
Yeah, what's its coordinates?
Oh,
0 and 8, correct? Now, if I wanted to do line 2 in point slope form, it would be y minus 8 equaled what? Negative 1/2 x minus 0, correct? Now look closely at that. X minus 0 is what? 1/2 x. What would happen to that 8 if I moved it over here? It'd be positive. And you can see that point slope form and slope intercept form play together very nicely. Is everybody good? Because technically, isn't slope intercept form just point slope form? Because isn't that y-intercept just another point on the graph? Is everybody with me? Everybody cool? All right. It is almost time to go.
really?
It's 2:06. Please have a good long look at 372. Now just let me wait one sec. I can't remember if there's something on this page that bothers me or not. No, there isn't. But guys, please ensure that you actually try 16 through 23. I don't really care what you do up to there. You might feel perfectly comfortable with this now. But make sure you actually attempt 16 through 23. Up to there, you can just do a few spot ones to make sure you're doing it right. That's fine. I trust you to take control of your knowledge. But remember, if you only do one thing up to 16 and try and do 16 right now and can't do it, there's a reason for that, yeah? Okay? It's like skiing down the rope tow run and then heading up to the double black diamond.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, how'd that work out for you? You became Sport Goofy Snowball. Woo!
I cried the whole way down and did like the side step thing.
Yes. Now,